Welcome to another episode of Beta Talk. And today I'm joined by one of my favourite engineers. He's actually one of the favourite engineers of lots of other engineers, Damon Blackmore. Um, this season is sponsored by Primary Pro, which is an outside primary pipework lagging system. It's the one that Damon actually uses. It's a great system. A lot of the good engineers are out there using it. So the reason I wanted to bring Damon onto the show is because, like I say, he's highly respected. He hasn't been doing heat pumps for that great amount of time, probably about 4 years, but highly respected. And there's a reason why he's respected. It's because he's helping other people learn. He gets onto social media. He's helping people understand what best practice is. Even in the days when he was installing boilers, he was doing best practice. He was weather comping boilers and the systems he was putting in. And all the old engineers I know who've been in this game a long time really value what Damon's doing. They love him to pieces. Some of them, Steve Webster, thinks he's brilliant. Who's probably the sort of I regard Steve as possibly the best heat pump engineer in the UK. But lots of people really value the work Damon's doing, and I want to bring him on because obviously I've been pushing back against the industry, and the reason I'm pushing back is because you've got engineers like Damon out there trying to help people understand what good looks like. And then if you've got these big comms pieces that are being done by big companies and entities involved in this whole transition that are kind of arguably invading the truth, all that hard work that people like Damon are doing is kind of getting attenuated. And so I wanted to bring him on, chat about what he's up to, what we're seeing that's positive in the industry. So, first, Damon, you're a family man. So you've just brought your daughter home from football. You've got four daughters, haven't you? I think you've got another
Yeah, sure.
child on the way as well.
Yeah, number five coming. Good to be a girl, innit? No doubt.
So congratulations to you, Nikki. So,
Thank you.
so yeah, as I said, I want to bring you on because you are this highly regarded engineer in the UK for all sorts of good reasons. You're doing really good work, but importantly to me, because obviously I'm about the whole learning piece and peer-to-peer learning, you've been helping lots of others sort of understand what's good with your posts and the interaction you do behind the scenes. Uh, so what's been going on for you lately in the industry?
Not much, really. I know Steve Webster used to respect me until I painted his dog by accident on a job. So he probably don't respect me anymore. But yeah, not much, mate. I've been loving your stuff recently. There's not many who sit in that position that you sit in an industry where you're like between people listen to you like higher up. And you listen to installers as well. Like, so seeing some of the stuff you've been putting on has been positive from an installer's point of view, because that's what we like to see. There's not many that stand up for installers who actually can influence things and people listen to. I mean, you highly respected yourself in that, so it's nice to see that happen from our point of view.
It's really hard because I'm in a real hard position because obviously the entities I'm pushed back against Kenza today, and as you'll know, I've been doing it with Hive and Era. These have all got lovely people in, so I don't like upsetting people, and I don't get personal. But when there's stuff that's clearly not quite right, something needs to be said, and I'm in that privileged position where I can say it. But I know that I'm going to be upsetting people, which is a horrible thing to do, and they all then message me, and there's even crisis meetings I think been going on. Nathan said this and Nathan said that, and they all want to meet with me, which is interesting because I have lots of meetings, but everyone else in that meeting is getting paid. They're on a salary. I'm not getting paid, and I'd rather it be done in an on the open platform where I present the questions so that everyone then can learn from that, because that's kind of what you guys are doing and girls. You're putting your posts, you're putting your installs on. People are learning from them. People are discussing them, and what you're finding with, I mean, I think as we know, Craig put something on, didn't he, the other day on an Air install post. He did it quite nicely, which is unusual for Craig. But he said, perhaps you shouldn't be using so many fittings, and the install looked lovely, but there was no machine bend whatsoever. Every change of direction used a fitting. Now, to produce fittings is a carbon cost, and when
Yeah,
I used to teach students, every student has to sign something to say they're going to be economic with resources because it's all about sustainability. And his post got took down. So whereas everyone's trying to learn from what's going on, his reply, and he did it in quite a nice way, it got deleted.
yeah,
And this is the trouble. You got all you people out there trying to help people understand what good practice is, I pushed back against Energy Systems Catapult quite a few times. They've got this warm home prescription thing going on, which is great. They're looking after the fuel pool, which you and I have done, and everyone else in the industry has done for a long time. And they're putting in installs with smart thermostats that aren't compensating the boiler. So we're back. So we've been talking about this weather compensation boards for a long, long time. You've done loads of work around that, trying to help people, and you've got Energy System Capital who are supposed to be all about systems thinking, and being aware of the industry and what's going on, doing stuff that actually isn't best practice.
I think you find with a lot of these companies and things, it's there's a lot of front as well. Like they don't really have any substance to them. You see it a lot in this industry now. Everyone wants to do like a post. Everyone wants to talk about it and that. And there's a lot of talking, but there's no action. There's nothing there. I post and show my work to just. It's also a way of learning for me as well. That Daking that post with service, I didn't know there was an expansion vessel line inside it. I put it. They weren't that. I learned that next time I'll know. And then learn that strainers in there and that too. So there's a lot that can be gained from that. I don't get upset if anyone says anything wrong. I think for big companies to get upset when someone says something, when it's not an attack, when it's worded nice, they must know they're not doing it right. They must have that there that they don't want to be called out. And I genuinely think like it's with state all industries in, it's about time things should get called out. And not just like effing and blinding and that's crap and blah 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 blah, but in a way that's constructive. Look, you've done that ain't right. Why are you doing this? Why are you saying Ives like changed market and saved so much money when basically it's just an on-off? Everyone knows that. But you're getting a big post from big companies that are out there that people seeing that, oh, that looks good. Like their level of influence is a lot more than what mine is.
Mm.
And they basically people are just putting rubbish there just for likes, just for views and for sales. That's it. It's frustrating.
It's so interesting this comms piece because this the way we comms is has evolved in our industry. I mean, we've had trade shows for donkeys years and trade media for donkeys years, but social media is relatively new, and it's obviously a massive aspect now of what these big companies and entities will use. The trouble is, if social, as we know, social media is a reciprocal thing. It means everyone can have you. You can chat backwards and forwards, feed backwards and forwards. But these large entities just seem to just want it as an advertising tool. They do not like engagement, or they do not like being questioned. I've sort of questioned some entities, and they hate it. And that's kind of not fair because the whole point, what you're doing specifically, like you say, you'll put a post up, people can challenge you. Why did you do it like this, Damon? And you'll say to them why you did it like that, and everyone's learning. Like you say, you can learn sometimes. There'll be some things that we don't know everything. None of us can know everything.
You know, 100%. So yeah,
What?
deleting something is yeah, it's cowardly, isn't it? If you know you're wrong, and especially if he's not done it like you say, it's lucky that Craig and done it in that way because it's never usually like that. But for him to come out right in a way that's not like that, and then to be removed, just shows you like, are they bothered about anything really? What did they want from it? Because they don't want to learn because they're not bothered about interacting with people that's trying to make them better or make them aware to something.
Mm.
It's yeah, it's a strange one. Like I say, I think there's a hell of a lot of talking and a lot of show to all what we're doing, but they don't actually really do what they're doing. I think you find that a lot.
There's a lot of poor. Unfortunately, as we I think lots and lots of people are more aware of heat pumps and heat pump installs. Maybe we've got lots more engineers getting involved in it. But as you are seeing out there at the coalface, the work isn't that great, is it yet?
No.
And what do we do about that? I mean, obviously we got the whole training issue. We'll probably talk about that in a minute. But you have done posts where you've seen gone out to sort of eco installs and they've been rubbish and
Yeah, we've talked about eco a lot, haven't we? I know people will say, oh, but don't pull it down because there's some good companies doing it. But the majority of companies that do it are just making a fortune and doing a crap job in a scheme where the consumer, the end product for that should be something that's changing their life and helping them, whether that's with heating or any other aspects of that. We're a good system. It's not. We saw boiling scores, Eco 2 for Eco 3 boilers, Eco 3 for Eco 4, same houses, same controls, same boiler, same system water, done enough. It it needs changing from the foundations of that, but nobody sees that apart from us. So why,
Mm,
what's it going to take for them? Because there's so much in a time when money wastage, it shouldn't be. Like there's not a lot of money to waste. People are living daily, making ends meet, and just using all the money, fuel and stuff. Taxpayers' money being used, like levies on energy being used for this, and it's paying these companies who just fold after 6 months and then start up again and do the exact same thing over and over again. How that's still allowed to be let happen in this day and age
mm.
is ridiculous. And if I'm just a pipe monkey, if I can see that, why can't they see that? Why is it the people that can't do anything about it that's the ones that seen it and concerned about it? Why aren't the people who can do something wanting to change that?
I went to look at an Eco 4 install the other day, actually, last week. And the company does everything. So it does insulation. So it'll insulate the house. It'll do the solar panels and it'll do the heat pump system. And yeah, the insulation was okay. Solar panels seemed all right. And heat pump wasn't majorly bad. I mean, they obviously don't know about things like primary pro, but what they had done wasn't too bad. But it's not performing that great. But that company, I think, is making millions out of this eco scheme. Because they're national. There's a few of these companies now that are national. They've got teams of people that are going in. They can do stuff really quickly now. Rip stuff out very quickly, put new radiators in very quickly. So on the surface, it might look like they're doing a good job. Fundamentally, just a little bit of learning, they might be able to do. Especially get the heat pump system really well. But that whole eco thing has engendered companies that are making a lot, and it did in Eco One with the boiler. I mean, I know a company that he had two-man teams that would put three boilers in a day, just two-man teams putting three boilers in a day, and they were making they became millionaires over it.
Yeah.
And we're on to the fourth iteration.
You get these companies setting up, then the subcontractors, and subcontractors subcontract. So when there is something wrong, I mean, there'd been one today on Paul Smith's heat pump UK group with a lady that's had it done. She ended up with like engineer X, Y, and Z out there, and in end, because they didn't get paid, they took a heat pump. Like one of these engineers had been back and took the heat pump. Now she's got no heating. Like, and that's why should the company that's getting it not have no skills to be able to fit these products and be allowed to subcontract it out? It should be direct. Like it should be you or your company that does it. No subcontractors involved in it. Again, it's the paperwork side of the business. What the real engineers that do it don't want to do that. You see it with MCS. They don't want to do that side of paperwork. That's why we're struggling. That's a big old fight for e-pump adoption is the fact that you've got all this other stuff to jump through.
Now you went MCS. Oh crikey! How long ago did you get MCS registered?
2 years.
Is it 2 years
2.5
now?
years. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So how's it all going? So obviously you're doing some lovely work out there, and all different sorts of bits and pieces, aren't you?
Yeah, it's going well. I think I'm in a bit blessed place that it won't always be like that, but I can pick and choose what jobs I want to do. Nice
Mm.
customers. I'm not in that rat race as such where you're having to drive your cost down to challenge like Octopus and be real and unrealistic like prices. So um yeah, I mean it's nice. I'm going up to Mull soon to do one for a gentleman in a passive house. So I've got to work out. I'm going to get heat pump across to Ireland. Yeah, I'm up there. I've got a couple of nice jobs. It's I enjoy what I do. I
Uh,
like the whole aspect of it, the full design stuff, uh, the challenge of every job being different, and the end product for the client all being different. Whether that's how it looks, whether how they want to run it, and the different challenges that come, and the fact I like making it look nice at end as well, and like it artistically. So,
So how have
um,
you found MCS? Because obviously lots of people moan about it, and obviously that's probably mainly because of the paperwork side of things. Some people will say that the poor installs out there are MCS's fault. Now I don't quite agree with that because there's a couple of industries before you can register with MCS. That's the training industry and it's the awarding body industry, and they're quite happy for people to go on these 3-day training courses, which some of us taxpayers are now paying for, and you and I know engineers that have been on them and actually don't feel confident or competent once they've been on them. So they And then if they do end up joining MCS, that's why we're sort of getting bad installs, or if they get used by these contracting companies. So I don't think we can totally blame MCS for poor installs. I mean, and you, it seems like you found the MCS process. You're getting on with it, okay, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got handling now. I joined MCS because I was moaning about MCS, and I don't think you can moan about something without being part of it. It's easy to sit from outside and say, "Oh, this and other," but if you're not in there, how do changes get made? Uh,
Mm.
I still struggle with a bit of it and how it works and what they're doing. I had an email this week. They sent me an email about some installations that and basically blamed me because there was something wrong on certificate, and that they'd be happy for a call to make sure my processes were right because I'm doing this wrong. And it were really badly worded email. It got me really mad. They weren't even my certificates. So I come on, so I read it one night and it was quite threatening email. So I'll send it you after so you can have a look at it because it's been bugging me. So it's quite threatening. So I got home that night, looked through, logged on, got all of it, out of hours, out of time that I ain't got anyway. And they're not even my certificates. They're somebody else's. And then you say, oh yeah, sorry, that it were an error from something.
I'm just
So
I'm just going to pause my video down because we were breaking up then, and I might get a bit of connection. I'll come back on in a minute. So so they've got this whole thing with
yeah.
where they sent
So
you.
yeah, so just things like that, you just unneeded. I think the Anderson's better. I think
And have they rectified that?
you what? Sorry, you broke up then, mate.
Are they going to
Let
rectify
me
that?
just go and see. Not in there. Just give me 1 second, Nathan.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, should be all right.
So did once did they understand that it wasn't yours in the end? Have you managed to get that rectified?
Yeah, sent back after saying, yeah, well, yeah, he just said sorry, we've bothered you with that. But like the email was quite was yeah, it was quite like, if you read it, I weren't happy reading it. It was like saying
Mm.
my processes were wrong and that
Mm.
they'd take time out to teach me how to do it right. When in fact it was their process that were wrong because they'd sent me someone else's certificate numbers.
I suppose if they were looking at or scrutinising a company that was getting things really really bad or doing things really really badly, I don't know if it would warrant such a sort of threatening letter, but you'd want a letter to go out to sort of one of these companies to say, look,
Yeah,
but of course they've got it wrong and sent it to you instead.
yeah. They were because on certificates, they put air to air and they were meant to be air to water, and they were saying you need to. How will you stop this from happening in future? Like blah blah.
Mm.
And I'm like looking for them, and they're not even my certificates. My certificate numbers weren't even there. So I just think they're not installer friendly is the word I'd use. I mean, you look at them podcasts that they've just done lately, where they're like getting them, and not one person there was like a day-to-day installer, sits on them panels. They don't go to anybody like that. They don't represent us like as installers. There's nothing for us. You see these working groups where everything gets made. It's not done by any of us. It's done by people in suits or people who sit at desks, people who aren't in really touch with the world that we live in and what we see every day. And no matter how long we've been banging this drum, nothing has changed with them. I thought this year with these new things coming in that they'd be changing. It's the same old rubbish. And we need a body there. We need some accountability, and I don't think we should get rid of that, but I think they need to be better at what they do. They need to up the game. I mean, you look at then you've got the line of like authority where you go first. The consumer codes do absolutely nothing for you, so that's why they're getting rid of them. Which is I'm just paying money for nothing to them. Then you look at the awarding bodies. Now I'm at APHC, and I really highly rate APHC. I mean, a lot of people now are moving to them. I think they're like the best body out there. Steve Webster's moved to them. I think Craig Brooks is going to them. And anybody that asks me, I'm always like, Urban Plumber's gone to them now from a recommendation. So
Yeah.
they're really good. When you look at like Greener Living and how long they were allowed to go, and they were under like, I think it was Napit, like Craig's had issues with Napit, what they did to him on his audit. They just read paperwork. They know nothing technical. They know nothing about the job. With APHC, I can have a conversation. All right, it might not be as technical as what I want. 'Cause what I'd like on my audit is for someone to come out and me for learn something, But you can have a conversation with them at APHC because they understand. Whereas none of the others do. It's all paperwork exercise, and that's something that needs to go. And even if it means losing some of these bodies, just get them go, chuck them away, because they should be they representing. It's for us, and at minute it's not. It's so out of touch with what's going on that where do you start with it?
It's very interesting, that certification body. So for my listeners that don't know, an entity wants to become MCS registered, they have to also sign up with a CB, a relevant CB certification body, and there's about nine now involved. So it's quite competitive because obviously they get paid quite a bit of money each year by you guys, don't they? And I mean, I don't think I've said on record who I do recommend, but yeah, I recommend to people the APHC. I know the senior people at the APHC very, very well. I know Graham very, very well. Graham
Yeah,
is a
exactly.
is a technical genius. He's a technical expert. They know the industry very, very well. They're very open to listening. I've had chats with him and said, well, maybe you need to do this, maybe. But yeah, whereas other entities, you can tell they're just completely in the dark. They might be coming from an electrical background, and they really don't understand the heat pump industry. They don't understand the heating industry. All they do is seem to pull people up on the most silliest of issues, and they're getting it wrong sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like a free for all, and just again, it comes back to diverting money doing it. You know,
How much do you pay for a subscription
I
to it?
think APHC costs me. I think it was £500 to join, and then I think it's 550 a year. But in with that, I get my contact person scheme as well, so I can sign off all my unvented. I can do
Yeah,
all
you
my
get
certificates through there. I think on a few of them you can't do that either.
because you
Um,
get a lot of other benefits with the APHC. So I used to teach students about the APHC. Funnily enough, even at level one, it's in the curriculum to teach students about the Association of Plumbing and Heating Contractors because they do some good work.
Yeah, dude, you
Um,
get an £150 training voucher as well each 12 months. So then if you look at that, you're coming down to like £300 a month, which is more manageable. But yeah, they're a body that does that. I think are for installers, that understand real life, understand what we go through, what we work, and technical issues can ring up someone's end up phone. There's never an issue. Emails get replied to straight away. The process is simple. You know where everything is with them. Yeah, there's some really good people there.
yeah, there is. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I like them a lot. What what sort of heat pumps you install at the moment? Obviously, you're well known for doing the Wiesmans and some Vaillant. You've got lots. You got some stuff on Tristan's site. So I've been talking about Tristan's website and Glenn's website recently. The heat pump monitor because they've obviously got as you'll know, they've done the electrification of heat pump monitor as well, where we've seen that all
Yeah.
these heat pumps that are on that study. 19 contractors or 19 companies were involved in installing them, and Kenza being one of them, and that's kind of what I've mentioned them today. Them heat pumps aren't performing well. 2.6 and 2.36 is one of them.
But then they come out and they say they praise that report that come out. Some of these companies saying, "Look how well I've pulled a few on LinkedIn. Look how well this is done." And you're like, you actually think below three is good? Like, what's going on? Like,
I think sometimes in these large entities, these large companies, because again they've got some good people there. The comms and marketing. I don't know what's happening because they're very disconnected to what actually the data's there to see them installs were not good and they're not performing well. Um, so yeah, so the Tristan you've got your work a lot of your work you put on to Tristan's site, don't you?
yeah, I think there's three on there at the moment.
I think you've got the highest one in the country, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah.
There you go,
These
listeners. This is why we love Damon. He's got the highest performing heat pump in the country.
bit of luck, I'd say. Um, But but yeah, I've got another six, but I ain't had time to fill them in. And they're all up there on my account, but I need to get them on there. So they're all above four currently, bar one, which is a 12 kilowatt and an 18 kilowatt place, and we're using a backup heater as well. So that's at 3.3 nearly, and that's got an 8 kilowatt backup on there. So it's still above running better than gas parity even with that.
Did it need the backup then? Was that a situation where you
Yeah,
got?
it were actually a job where she got paid out for insurance because the greener living had been in and just in one day took an oil boiler off and bolted a Mitsubishi on, Zubadan. No upgrades to anything. Heat pump had blew up because he just used under cable size to it. They had no heating for 18 months or at water. So the insurance paid out after that time, and we went in and put a Vitacar 151 in, 12 kilowatt with 8 kilowatt backup in there.
They went without.
Upgraded every single radiator because they won't run. It was 70, they were like 80, 86 there, so 70 mean water temp to get them temperatures out of it. So we got it down to 50, 45 flow return.
And they went without heat and hot water for that long.
Yeah. They had electric shower, but yeah, elderly people as well. It were a disgrace, to be honest.
Mm.
That
And
that
it's,
had been that had been through the process of near pit of Heiss. So that had been through that process, and then in end all they got were they've gone bust now, so there's nothing we can do. That were it.
was that an eco one or was that just a private install?
Oh, just a private install.
Yeah.
What they'd gone, yeah.
Yeah. And there was no one to help them, you know, an
Oh,
elderly.
I know they got a message. Unfortunately, they've liquidated, and there's nothing we can do. That's it. You
Mm.
know, where do you go at that point? Because they're not cheap, these installs either. I think they paid something like 30,000 pound originally to have that done, 27,000. So it's not a nice bit of job, that. It's a bit that I don't like when you're good at these installs that aren't good, and you're telling people that's either took loans or they've used their life savings to do something that they think's right. You know, a lot of these people are doing it to reduce carbon, for not just for themselves, but for people, for like humans, Mother Nature, and that. And they then use all that money, and they've got no more money to do anything else with.
Mm.
Oh, they can't get it repaired. They can't do that. And a lot of the time, I sort of know. Sometimes I just give my time to them just because I feel. But then it's like, how much time can you give without charging them? Because it's an hard one. It's not part of the job that I like. It's like, it sits heavy on my heart when I go to these things. It's not a conversation that I like.
I mean, I think you mentioned a little bit earlier the Heat Pump Association, because I like the people in the heat. Well, Craig Dolan currently is chairperson. He was ex-Valent. He's at Dimplex at the moment, and then Mark Wilkins from Valent will be taking over the chair next. And obviously, we've got the CEO Charlotte Lee, who I really really like. I know about the process of how they engendered that CEO position, and Charlotte got it, and I helped her sort of understand a little bit about the industry when she got that position, because I said, look, you're entering a world where there is an old boys network still, especially in the boiler industry, and that boiler industry now is in the sort of the heat pump association industry, and I wanted her to feel comfortable and confident about what heat pumps are. They've been in the country for a long, long time, a little bit about the science of heating, and I really like what Charlotte's doing and has done. I've got them coming on the show because I've had to push back against them,
Yep.
as much as I like them, because what I'm seeing, unfortunately, and Craig won't like me for saying this, is a little bit, and really, really like Craig if you are listening. It's a little bit like what we've seen, who've been in the industry a long, long time, has gone on in the HHIC. You get these manufacturers come together. And arguably, do they want what's best for society or what's best for engineers? Because you've got huge competitors all coming together. So whatever they decide they want has to be beneficial to them all, which means you'll usually end up with something that's not really that beneficial to us as the engineers and society. And you called them out, I think, on a post about they've just released or published some commissioning sheets, which is obviously what HHIC did with their benchmark system, and they've commissioned some commissioning stuff and some sheets. And of course, what did we notice, or what did you notice? Got that British standard 7593 mentioned in it.
Always pops up, doesn't it? And then you look at who sits on board and who pays money, and then you see why these things pop up. And yeah, I had a long conversation with Craig last week, and yeah, he's a really good guy.
Mm.
it were nice to talk to him. We flashed a few things out. It were nice to see things from their perspective as well, because I didn't get their point of view on stuff. But still, I said like from not just me, but for other installers, it's frustrating because what we saw happen in boiler industry with the HHIC and how that just they started affecting everything. But it were always when you looked at the hierarchy, it were people who paid most had most say. And like if you're in a body, then it's never going to work like that because in that level hierarchy, where do people like us stand that see this every day and are doing stuff every day, like chemical free treatment? Where's voice for us going forward with that? We've been ignored. We got ignored again, you
Mm,
know. And we're not asking to not add chemicals, just consider what we're doing and put it up there because it works, you know. And that when you're seeing that, it's just frustrating because I said this to him like we need a body out there to go against the grain to like have the cojones to stand up and be like, no, we're doing this. This is what we need because all we're doing is the same things over and over again.
yeah,
What happened in the gas industry, and we don't need that. We need radical change.
yeah.
We've got to decarbonize. We've got to do it at speed. We've got to get installers interested in it. And how are you going to do that when you're not changing anything? You're going
Mm,
to end up in the same state as what the gas industry is, in the same state of what combi slinging's been done for years, you know? So unless we get something and shake it all up, then how is anything going to ever change for the positive?
mm. That's exactly right. I'm going to quickly explain for listeners a little bit about this British Standard 7593. So that's the standard that was written by the chemical inhibitor companies. Arguably, it's a standard that sort of promotes the way they want things to be done. That they that British standard got mentioned in Part L approved document back in 2020, I think. And their marketing and comms around it was that it's now mandatory to use chemicals. It's not. They need to realise, they need to understand what an actual requirement is and what guidance is in the approved document. I pointed out to them, I did a podcast about it. It's not mandatory. And what you find is Damon and other good engineers, or I'm not saying you're not a good engineer if you don't do this, but other engineers out there have found what they think is a better way of doing it, the germ standard. Now, that's not to say that using chemicals means you're rubbish or you shouldn't use them, because there's going to be situations where you might want to use them. But ideally, they should be used in a scientific manner. But people like Ricky and Damon and others, they test their water quality because they're going to be testing it to see how much, what's the conductivity, how would the, because everyone's water is different. When you fill up a heating system around this country, everyone's water has different parts per million of different salts and minerals in it, and that's going to affect the conductivity and how it will corrode your system. And then you can do things and work, once you know that, you can do things and maybe do things where you don't have to use chemicals. The chemical industry have never ever ever promoted this good work that the other people are doing, and they don't even want to get involved in the discussion. And what it seems that they've done is, so within our industry, there's a huge amount, there's hundreds of British standards, hundreds, British standards for doing this and using this and doing this and doing this. And for some reason, in the gas industry, with that benchmark commissioning sheet for boilers, and by the way, you don't legally have to use the benchmark. The legal requirement is you commission it and give that commission sheet to the customer. It doesn't have to be benchmark. Now, what's the HPA have done? They've done exactly what the HIC did with the benchmark. The only British standard that's actually mentioned is British Standard 7593. So we've got all these hundreds of standards that don't get mentioned, and some, for some reason, that chemical hit standard has been mentioned. And in a way, it's a device, because if you're new to this industry and you don't know about a VDI 7, VDI 2035, and the way other countries are doing it, of course, you're going to see that British standard. Oh, I better do it like that. Now, you need to give engineers a choice, because the law states that we don't have to follow that standard. We can use other standards if they meet the requirement. And so it's a bit. I found it really really disappointing. They because, like I say, the people at the HPA know me well enough to know that I've been campaigning against this for a long time. You guys and girls that are using different methods have been campaigning, and all you need is for one of the chemical companies to hold their hands up and go, "Yeah, no problem. If you want to use that method, great. And if you want to use our stuff, that's great as well." But they're not doing that. They're always trying to push their own agenda. And in this transition, we've got to stop doing things like this. We've got to be more honest to the engineers out there.
Yeah. And I think if you just look at Ricky Prescott's stuff at Furflush as well, that's he's been campaigning against, not against chemicals, he's been campaigning for getting testing standards for chemicals for what, 2 years now. He's been going on and on and on. It never gets answered. And I think he's only got one lot of test results for the whole thing. So it's not that people are against chemicals. In my opinion, they're not needed, but if you use chemicals, that's fine. But where are the standards to dose correctly? One bottle will do 20 radiators, one bottle will do 10 radiators. Like, where's the information about overdosing? Where's then the information about testing properly without using a gimmicky app? You know, if you go to one and you're using the AD app and it's got Fernox in it, it's going to tell you there's something wrong with it to put more chemical in it. So
Mm.
where's that standard product to be able to test each one to know what you're doing properly? Because
Mm.
they want you to test it, but you can't test it with every single thing on the market when they're charging you an arm and leg to use their stuff anyway.
Yeah, because they all use different chemicals, don't they? Some are using
And they all
nitrates.
have different molybdenate levels.
Yeah.
One uses nitrate, I think, as well. So when you're looking at that, where are the parameters for that? And they haven't brought them out. So if they were that concerned, why aren't they letting you know what that is to test and to, because testing is a major thing. Annually should be testing it. Why aren't they giving you that data? And why ain't nobody answering Ricky? Someone just answer Ricky, please.
So you test your customers, you'll test their iron levels in their water on the service. You
Yeah, iron conductivity, pH, hardness. I'll then use a molybdenate test just to see if they've got that in, and then yeah, test annually, and then you know the quality of where the water is. That's why I like putting some of them posts on when I go back to show that 4 or 5 years old and it's still the same. You know, and it's
what do you think?
dying.
Why do you think other companies of installation companies that are doing heat pumps, why do you think they're finding it so hard to get things right?
Um, wow, that's yeah. I think there's a lot of aspects. I think. First off, I think level of training and knowledge from people. I think that's a big one. Um, they've been let down. A lot of people by it, that go on these courses and then you come out of it with a heat pump qualification as such. And when they're basic, they don't really teach you anything.
Mm.
Um, Manufacturers training, a lot of it's just sales pitches, so you go on them and then you're an advanced installer or whatever, and you're not really. I think a lot of it from an installer point, I think there's a lot of ignorance out there as well. I think people cut corners. It is human nature in that, but that you're going to take easiest and fastest way, but they need to be done with care. And a lot of people will just see that book and do them, get in and out, which is not nice. But it happened in boiler world, you can see that, and then companies are just transitioning across. Poor umbrella schemes, I think, where they're not being designed and they've been led down a path where they've not been the umbrella scheme doesn't care about the actual customer, they just want a sale. So they're giving the customer a package and a product that's not really suitable for the job and it's not being designed themselves, but they're getting money for it. So, who cares?
Mm.
Um, I think there's a whole lot of where people can heat loss reports, not understanding how to do heat loss properly could be a big failure. Air change rates, U values and like solid fabric, and just going in and out and doing generic. So I think there's a hell of a lot in heat pumps, unfortunately, where you need to be good at all. I know they say never a jack of all trades, but when it comes to heat pumps, you need to be not a jack of, but you need to be good at
Mm.
quite a lot of things to give your customer that end product.
Mm.
And that's why I like to be in control of them stages myself. And it's why I
Mm.
probably never really expand that much, just because at some point when you're getting bigger, you've got to make more money for your overheads. At that point, what do you start cutting? You start being quicker on jobs, you start getting quicker, you start losing quality, and it's I think for me, I'd rather my reputation's worth more than what a few quid is in
Mm.
that way.
Do you think, obviously, like in the boiler world, it was easy for someone to be a sole trader. It's it's a bit of a no-brainer. They can do it in the heat pump world, and obviously, arguably, I mean, I know you sometimes have people come and help you, but arguably, you're still a sole trader.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think, with this transition with scale, trying to get more heat pumps in for people, it's a sole trader industry, or are we going to have to accept that we need to, there's going to be umbrella companies that are going to be taking on, sole people, but that haven't got their MCS, and do we accept that you are going to need the big companies as well, but perhaps they need to do things maybe a bit differently or better?
100%. I think, like that's why I always said I sit with Octopus in that, like, one hand, the decarbonising at scale and quite fast, which is great because as an energy company, the best energy company on the market, like hands down. But on other hand, I think they could have done so much more with position they were in, and they didn't. So they could have like been the leading force, I think. But I think they just took easy option. But we need them companies
Mm.
because we're never going to decarbonize sole traders. You're not going to do them. What are you going to get? Maybe 5%, 10% installs a year are done by sole traders. Rest are going to be done by these companies. You get eGeek, which is best umbrella scheme in my opinion at market. You know what them guys are doing there, like being able to use one of the deals with that empower you. I think that's unrivaled because they're actually taking you on that journey of learning as well.
Hmm.
They wanting you to improve and they put you in touch. Like me, I use Aaron on jobs, I use John Wood on stuff. So there's a network of engineers that you can pull in as a sole trader and do
Yeah.
that, which is invaluable. You know,
Does John live near you then?
Scarborough lives, well, no, because I'd move if he did. It's about an hour and a half drive away. So I went and helped him out on his first ground source job of a week, and yeah, he's become a good friend, John.
He's a lovely, lovely guy. For my listeners who don't know John Wood, and you're in that sort of area, he's again, he's kind of new to heat pumps. He's been in the sort of plumbing heat industry a reasonable length of time. He's ex-military, he's a veteran. He come out of that, and he's doing some really, really good work. And I mean, one of the things I asked you a question a minute. Why are people out there not doing such good work? And when I get asked that question, I say, and they ask me, what makes a good engineer? Is it because they've done certain courses, or is it? And I say, no, that's not really it. What makes someone good at anything, whether they would be football or a tennis player, is they put time and effort into learning that trade. And so you and people like John, as much as someone like me can big you up as being one of these elite engineers, you're always wanting to learn. You're not stopping learning. It's not like you go on a course thing right now. I know you're constantly chatting with each other. How do we do this? What can we do to make it better? And you do it in your natural way of banter. I mean, you're not all like sitting there in a structured, meeting at an evening. It's like, how could we do it? You're learning all the time. But there's so many entities out there. Once they think they know how to do something, they don't know what lifelong learning is. They're not invested in sort of keeping up to date. And it's where I talk about this thing of unconscious incompetence. They don't know what they don't know. And then you want to move them to conscious incompetence where they think, oh, crikey, I didn't know that. I didn't know. And then they hopefully do something about it. I mean, a lot of the cowboys sit in the position of conscious incompetence. They know they're not doing good stuff and they're not bothered about it. But yeah, for people what's his company's name? John Wood.
Plumbing, heating, renewables.
Lovely company, lovely. I really like what John's doing. He's so invested in learning, and obviously our friend Steve Webster helped him on his journey at the beginning. So he's learned from some really, really, greats. Um, and it's same as Craig. As much as we can all laugh at Craig about how he always moans, the guy's he's a fascinating engineer. He just wants to keep doing better and better and better.
Yeah.
And you can't knock people like that. He's helping other people as well by helping putting up his posts and saying and
One of
engaging in
the
other.
best engineers in country, Craig.
Oh, he's unbelievable. He fascinates me.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I have banter with him. I always say, stop being so grumpy. But he's got every right to be grumpy because if you're out there working, and as we know, he stays up till 3, 4 in the morning, and I chat to him and say, look, you got to stop doing that because you'll have a breakdown. And yet he's just so passionate about the industry and getting it right. And he has every right to moan, the same as I have every right to know. I'm in this, like I say, in this position where I can moan at entities, and they've got to stop. They've got to stop and listen and stand back and think, right, how can we do it better than is Nathan's saying here? Is our comms not quite correct, or what can we do? you listen to the engineers because I'm out there trying to help give you guys a voice because luckily there are, but trust me, there are civil servants that really like what you're doing, Dame. Trust me on that. I've got actually a meeting coming up with about 50, 67 civil servants where I'm going to sort of give them a bit of a lunchtime learning session because that's another great thing. You got these everyone blames the government, but I can tell you now in that energy department, there's some people that really, really loving learning, and that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
and and everyone sort of blames them for this, and you've got all these entities saying the government needs to do this and change the policy. And I just sometimes wish our own industry would sit back and think, well, actually, we need to change ourselves because we're not doing it quite right.
100%. That's a big thing is that a lot of these issues are caused by us as well. So we have to take responsibility for that, and that's a lot of the time that we don't.
Mm.
We need to like say, yeah, yeah, we hadn't done that. We could have done that. Like just like that continual. I mean, not everyone's learning for everyone, but if you want to just an hour a week, something, just pick up and start reading or look at posts, and but you've got to be interested in what you do with heat pumps. You've got to want to learn and want to change how you've been working for quite a while to get to that point.
What obviously there's a lot, as you'll know, I do lots of podcasts with sort of startup. There's a lot of sort of innovation coming into the industry. I mean, what do you guys and girls at the coalface think of innovation? Do you think there's enough innovation, or do you think sometimes innovation is just being called innovation for innovation's sake, and that sometimes stuff isn't needed and people think it's needed?
I think, yeah, I think a lot of it is always just stuff that's not needed. Um, what solves a problem that's not there. We have a tendency to always want more. Like when on an heat pump, you don't need more. Like the less is more. But for some reason, we always want starts or thermostats, or we just want all the stuff that we shouldn't have, you know. So yeah, to be honest, I don't think there's that much. There's nothing really that I think we need right now, apart from more engineers, and that I can't see what I don't really like hybrids, unless they're going to give me 80% a year. I don't really like smart. I don't like smart controls. I think there's a place for an internal reference point on weather comp to provide like a class 8 control, I think. So be able to um have that internal reference to all heat pump off a little bit when you're at room temperature rather than all pure weather comp. But that's like maybe in some houses and not others. I don't think there's anything really that I can think of that could come in and change anything than what we're doing.
What about these? So a lot of people, well, including me, categorize them as optimization control. So you've got
Oh,
quite a
yeah.
few entities now. You see, you've got people like Homely, and that obviously they're working with things like time of use tariff. Now, do any of your systems that you've installed or got monitored, do they use that stuff?
I've used only a couple of times. Usually I find these optimization controls are good to an heat pump that's not got a good control, that's already using like 230 switching, like an LG or something, what's using third party or the older Samsungs. I don't see what place it'd have on a Wiesmann or a Valen or the new Grant or a Neeb. I can't ever see them on the good heat pumps that I would say. I took it out of one because it wasn't working right. And the other three that I fitted, the customer has not really had much benefit on them. Time use tariffs, I'm still not fully there with. I get we need to load shift and whatnot, but I don't think we should be making electricity expensive for people in times when they might want heat, and that I think it's a commodity really we should be able to afford and use when we want to use it. I don't think we should be able to be forcing that up. You're then probably having to overheat your house maybe in them uh, cheaper periods, which then is kind of just energy wastage anyway, taking it above what we're trying to achieve by having it steady state. Um, I have got one customer, and I'm just waiting on update from him. We fitted a Visma last year, and he's using API, and he's using Home Assistant, and he's using his um, octopus tariff, and he's using time of use for hot water, and it's a solid stone building, and he likes it like 19 degrees, but in times when it's cheaper, he's taking it up to like 20.5. And with that thermal mass, he's then able to hold off for 2 or 3 hours without it affecting him because it's already dropping down. But 20.5 is a livable temperature anyway. If you're wanting your house at 21 and you're having to take it to 22-ish to have that cool period off, not so much. But his has been running like 430% in this solid stone, no insulation, even not even no any roof insulation either. So I'll be putting a post on that on LinkedIn in next week. So when he gets that, I'll send you the information because it's the first time I've done it and it's really effective.
So I think
It's
you've got one customer on Tristan's heat pump monitor site that averaged out over the year, they only paid something like 2.9 pence per kilowatt hour, I think. Is that,
would
that
that
was,
would that Rob, I think. Who's got 500% efficient?
yeah, I think, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, so he had an existing solar array and PV and batteries, and last year he got paid £58 for his energy bill. So that was last year. He didn't pay anything, he got £58 back.
Mm.
That all in all, I think he spent about 31,000 on his setup.
Yeah,
But
it's
his
just,
recharge car that he's had for a while, his solar already in, he only added another battery. So he'd already been on that journey. So then for his heat pump to then get the 500% efficient allowed him, on that. But there's a few quirks to that as well. We store his water lower and we use his kitchen tap for his sink. So his cooker, so he charges that up and then just runs a sink full of pots through that. So we're able to store it lower. So that's why I say like every house is different. Everything's a challenge because that won't work in every house. But for him, that allows us to keep his water at like 42, 43 degrees, which then amplifies his hot water performance on his heat pump, you know. So yeah, it's a good guy, Rob.
and of
Is
course you were the engineer that did Mick Wall's install. And we've had Mick on the podcast,
yeah,
and Mick obviously is the one that does this website called Energy Stats, where he's sort of tracking prices and octopus prices, and he's done some fantastic blog
yeah.
posts as
I,
well, hasn't
I
he?
don't think personally. I mean, Mick's become a good friend. I've learned so much from him, but I don't think half of the stuff had been known about the valence out there without his posts. I think it's
Yeah.
kind of underrated. Um, what he's done there, and highlighted problems. I mean, that way. Valen with the error on the PCB where they made him buy the new board were just shocking. It's double counting your degree minutes, and it's not a warranty issue, but his performance has got better since we changed it. So I wouldn't, if it's affecting performance, I wouldn't that a warranty issue.
Hmm.
Like making someone pay 200 and some pounds to do something that should have been, yeah,
And plus, he was the person that's highlighted this in the whole country. So, he's basically helped Valen understand a problem that they can now solve for
yeah,
future.
and all other stuff with his performance, what everyone's doing is that he did so much for them to just turn around and say, yeah, you need to buy it and get off. Like, how's it not a warranty issue? It's compressor life's going to shorten down. It's having more stop starts than it should, So why, if it's affecting stuff like that, why isn't it a warranty? How can they get out of that? It's ridiculous.
Wasn't there something else noticed with Valence over this winter period? Was it something to do with defrost, and wasn't it something to do with their information?
Output, I think so. I don't think um I've I've not had any issues with mine, but a few people on the sevens weren't hitting temperature in the properties. You know, I think the sevens stated that they could do like 8.2, 8.3 kilowatt. So people were putting them in instead of fitting tens because then you don't need planning. And it can do it on paper, but when it's been doing that and it's defrosting 15 minutes and then you're only putting your 45 minutes worth of joules in instead of an hour's worth and you're getting 6.7, 6.8 kilowatts out of there. Your room temperature's dropping 1 or 2 degrees, and then they're not recovering that. So, yeah, there were quite a lot. I think Tristan did a good post on that, where it showed that they weren't actually in what they were stated, and I think Simon Ibn Plummer's had a couple. I think
Mm,
Valent are monitoring it. Um,
mm.
I heard that they said, I don't know how true it is, but OEM were incorrect, that it were wrong, and that so yeah, I don't know. You don't know these. It'd be a big thing, I think, if it did turn out that they were wrong, because it's
I don't think they are. The work Tristan and Glyn do at OEM is absolutely amazing. It really is.
my view on it was always, you look at other heat pumps and they all have a drop off. There were only valence that went up.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's same components that's in other heat pumps, and it's using the same refrigerant that's in other heat pumps, and they all had a drop off. So how can theirs go away?
What
So
what do you how do you size your systems? Do you do it longhand? Because I know you like a little bit of maths, or do you use a particular do you use any of the software that's out there and available?
I used to use Heat Engineer. That was the only one that I used to use, but I just got frustrated with underflow side of it because it's still just less than basic. And having to do all that longhand and whatnot. And then I actually use Spruce now.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Steph, and yeah, really, really good woman. Like giving
Oh,
me
Steph's
so
Steph's
much time, and yeah, they do the whole package now for you. So from start to finish and over, and I find it so much easier to do. And like you have a conversation with them, and then they start changing things for you. And
yeah.
yeah, I really like Spruce. I think it's a full handover, full eat loss. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I've had Steph on the podcast a couple of times. She's amazing. She's fantastic. And last installer, I went out for dinner with Joseph and Steph from Spruce,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
good people.
yeah, and I think what the engineers are really liking is like I say they're listening to you and listening to you on the ground engineers around what do you need, what would work better for you.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, when I said innovation, there weren't anything. I think Spruce has been a good innovation in
mm,
what that's done. You can work
mm.
from plans, you can do it on site. Yeah, I really like it now.
Well, I think the great thing with them is they're not just techies that are trying to produce something. You know, a lot of techies. I probably spoke to 50 startups last year because they do their market research, and part of that is listening to podcasts, and so they listen to mine. Then they want to have meetings and ask questions, and I do all that for free. And I'm not, I don't mind doing it. It's nice to meet different people, but. They sometimes think there's a problem when there's not one, and sometimes I feel like they're trying to look for a problem because and this is not all startups, but obviously our industry is a massive, massive thing now in the world. There's going to be people making a lot of money, and I didn't know a lot about startups till I started to talk to people about it. And sometimes startups will come into to any industry, create something of value. It's seen as value to their investors, or whatever, and then they sell it for 10x, and make a profit, and then jump out. Whereas someone like Steph has been involved in this industry a long time. She's a techie. She's a bit of a nerd, but she's also completely understands the science around heat, and therefore is able to actually produce something
Yeah,
that engineers actually need. And also, this they got this system of feedback where they're constantly asking you engineers, what do you need? How could we make it better? So it's interesting that's what people seem to be picking now, their system.
yeah, yeah. It's really good.
Mm.
Just eat as well. You can, if you've got a job, you can preload that in before, so you turn up to site just to heat loss. You can do if you can get a map from Rightmove, a layout or anything, you can preload that in already. So you turn up to site and you're already like 2, 3 steps ahead where you'd normally be.
Mm.
It's someone recommended it to me. I've actually paid last year and had it for 12 months and never used it once. And then it come to last month and I used it for the first time and it's been like, yeah, what have I been doing? Yeah, it's class.
Oh, brilliant. Damon, it's been fascinating speaking to you.
No,
You better
thank
get off and well, I've said you're a family man. How old's your eldest? Because my daughter's 12, but yours are even
you.
younger, aren't they?
Yeah, Enya's 10 now, Ola's 7, Hallie's 3. She's 4 on Saturday, Sunday on the
Which one
8th.
plays the football in?
Enya, she's eldest. We just got tickets to United game next weekend, so we're going there. I went to Milan with her over a week. We went to watch AC Milan there for a
When you
bit.
say United, what Sheffield United?
Yeah, Wednesday. We're Wednesday fans, so she's going to her first derby match next Sunday.
Oh,
Yeah,
brilliant! I was ball boy for a Sheffield United match against Norwich City back in the 80s.
oh, right, nice. Yeah.
I was ball boy for them twice, one and Sheffield United and Nottingham Forest. And then my little brother, he captained the academy for about 6 years
Wow, nice.
when Chris Sutton used to play for him.
All right.
Um, and Danny Mills, if anyone knows them. But no, it's look, yeah. So once again, for my listeners, people like Damon and family people, family men out there doing such great work, which is great in its own right, but also trying to help everyone, not just other engineers, help people like me, commentators on the industry. There's lots of us commentators on the industry now. Help other entities, people like your energy systems catapults and people like your Nesta. I mean, Nesta obviously are doing great work in my opinion because they are interacting with the engineers. If it wasn't for people like Damon out there doing this stuff and helping up people understand what's going right, what's going wrong, we wouldn't be anywhere with this transition. So we really need to sort of support these engineers and watch them and help them and sort of understand their life and what they're doing. So Damon, thank you ever so much for coming on and really appreciate the work you're doing out there, buddy.
Thank you.